Hope we're doing all right. I hope that you are having a good start of the day. As you can see, I am just getting set up here, getting ready to do the morning mobility routine. 550 workouts in. Isn't that something? There we are. Hey, for those of you who are watching, thanks for dropping by. My name is Toby. I am 41 years old and I train to live an active, self-sufficient and adventurous life. And I do so by minding my sleep. I try to sleep between 7 and 9 hours in a night. I do so by minding what I eat. I try to eat within my energy balance, which is around 2,200 calories on a normal day. The days here in the mountains are anything but normal, so it's slightly different, but I think you get the idea. I try to eat lots of greens, some legumes, lentils, things like that to get those fibers, carbs, and proteins from plant sources. I eat meat, fish, but in moderation, and I try to hit my protein goals through my meals between 60 and 80 on a off day, which is a day like today where I'm not training with weights, and then between 80 and 100 on a training day when I am training with weights. That's 3 times a week, usually to make sure that I support my strength and muscle building goals. Beyond that, I show up for training 7 days a week, but training, not going hardcore every day. In fact, the days that I do go super hard are probably far behind me, although maybe judo classes on Wednesday night are the exception because they are quite intense and quite tiring. But in general, I swing a kettlebell 3 times a week, 30 minutes. I do mobility 3 times a week, 20 to 30 minutes. And I try to incorporate some sort of sprints, explosive run training once a week. On top of that, like I try to incorporate one longer run in the week, usually Friday afternoons, and I try to go for longer walks, 30 to 60 minutes throughout the day, preferably first thing in the morning. But if that doesn't work, later on in the day, finding maybe 3 times 20 minutes or 1 time 60 minutes to just be moving, and then the other 30 minutes of activity throughout the day is anything from walking to and from the stores, walking to and from the commute, taking the stairs. So generally there's about at least 2 hours of activity in the day. Right now here in the mountain, it's a mountain hiking holiday, so there's at least 3 hours of walking nearly every day, and I think that's great, and I think that's actually more aligned with the level of activity that I think we need to stay fit and healthy for living. I try to spend time with people I love and care about, do things that I enjoy, generally try to live a stress-free life. All right. So if any of that is interesting for you, go ahead, hit like, subscribe, and we can continue this conversation um, as we um, as we as we go through the years and actually work together to get fit and healthy. This is not about the way I look. This is about the way I feel. I would like to feel fit, capable, and competent for living. And I would like to feel fit, capable, and competent for living simply because I have probably between 35 and 45 years ahead of me, and I would like to be able to make good use of my body and my physical ability in that in that time. The second reason is that I have 2 kids, and I would like to set a good example for them in terms of what an active life is, and in terms of how to live an active, fit, and healthy life. So, here we are. Here's my attempt at being a good father and a good role model and a decent human being in that respect, at least. The only way to get anything done, friends, is by showing up and doing the work. So I'm going to hit the timer. It's 5:56 a.m., so we'll be done in around 30 minutes. And we're going to get started with some mobility training while we talk about our general state of health and fitness and why it's probably more important than we realize. So let's start with a few insights to really understand where we're going to have to come from on this. That is that we are getting older. That we are getting older. We are not staying healthy as we get older. And I think that is a missed opportunity. Okay? Because we get extra years to live. That means we have extra years to do things that we enjoy, that we love, that we care about, that we want to do. And we should try at least to relish that opportunity. Now, one of the ways that we are going to have to actually try to make the most of that opportunity is by staying as healthy and fit and active as we can. And there are very specific challenges in our current society to that objective. And we have more statistics to help us create that understanding of why that is the case. Well, let's start with a simple one. More than half the people in the country where I live, which is the Netherlands, which is not where I am right now, but more than half the people in the country where I live, yeah, are overweight. And I think a small percentage of those suffer from obesity. But we'll just focus on the general overweight population, right? Which ranges from being slightly overweight to being close to obesity. Okay, so you can think about that for a moment and think about what it takes to get to a state of being overweight. It requires a good combination of eating more energy, calories, in this case, than you require, and not moving sufficiently is a contributing factor to that distorted energy balance. Not sleeping well is a contributing factor to that energy balance. The types of foods that we consume contribute to that distorted energy balance. Okay? But in general, to put on weight, if you're a person whose metabolism functions as normally as it should, who can work and move and train and be generally active, it is the overconsumption of food and drink in relation to what your body needs and how active you are that is going to lead to that condition. No, there's no real harm, if you have, as a man, body fat percentage of between 17 24%, I guess, right? So the upper range of 15 to 20, the mid-range of 20 to 25. For women, it's higher. I think it's up to 25 to 30, maybe even a bit more, right? No harm there at all. Those are healthy percentages, give or take, okay? But the moment you move beyond those percentages, you need to start wondering what the effects might be on your body. By the way, the other way around also has detrimental effects, because hormones require fat to function properly, for example. So if you dip too far below the actual fat percentages that you need for your body to function well, right? So you can either go too high, you have too much, or too low, you have too little. Both have adverse effects on you as a person. So just keep that in mind. But we were talking about weight gain because that is the most prevalent cause of certain diseases and discomfort. Okay? You start wondering what adverse effects that excess fat, because it's not muscle that you're carrying around, if your fat percentage goes up, is going to have on you, and what trajectory you are on. What I mean by that is, are you gaining weight over time? So not only are you creeping towards those unhealthy fat percentages, but your girth is increasing, and you're seeing a change in your body when you look in the mirror. Maybe not day by day, but month by month. It is clear that you are putting on that weight. Okay? Now, weight gain and weight loss are a natural part of life, as in you can vary 1 to 2 kilos even from day to day, I guess. But generally, it is probably better to have a stable weight, so one that isn't creeping down, one that isn't creeping up. Because weight maintenance is easier to accomplish than weight gain and weight loss. Okay? And weight maintenance, like I said at the start of this video, I eat between 21 and 2200 calories on a regular day because that is more or less where my maintenance lies, where I maintain my weight where it is around 85 kilos and where I feel good in my own body. I don't feel heavy and slow. I don't feel too light. I feel generally energized and good about where I am. And I think we all have a point like that. Okay? So, back to those statistics, because there's more to understand here, right? For example, it's expected that people over the age of 45 in the Netherlands, country where I'm from, yeah, 1/3 of them by 2030, 2035 is going to suffer from diabetes type 2. Now, if we say that around 6 million people, right, are over the age of 45 in that country, which I think is more or less correct, we have more older people than we have younger people, after all. Right. That is quite a lot of people who are suffering from a disease that is generally preventable. Symptoms could be alleviated through lifestyle changes and even reversed, rather than resigning yourself to a life of medication. And constant stress and worry about that medication. So just think about that for a second. And then there's a whole slew of people, right, under the age of 45 who also develop this disease. And the precursor to that is metabolic syndrome. And there are strong indicators that lifestyle, so how well we sleep, how well we eat, how well we move, are very much factors in whether or not we are going to develop diabetes type 2. And coming back to the weight, You already guessed it, or you know it, right? If you are overweight, and maybe not at the margins, but, you know, at the middle of that curve of the people who are overweight and beyond, you probably run a greater risk of developing that disease. But it's not necessarily given that you will, but the risks are greater. Like I said, lifestyle matters. If you're incredibly active and you don't develop insulin resistance because of your activity, yeah, maybe you put it off, you prevent it altogether. But there's a big challenge in this strategy of being overweight and active. That is that being active is tiring, and it is more tiring when you are older. So carrying some extra weight in your teens and 20s, but being active, you might not notice it as much in your 30s and 40s even, because it's relatively straightforward to stay active at that age. However, now you are 50, 60, and you feel you deserve to take it slow and easy. Your kids are adults. You're nearing your retirement. You've worked hard 20, 30 years of your life. You're good. Why would you keep training that hard? It's tiring anyway. And then the benefits of movement cannot account for or balance the adverse effects of carrying that excess weight around. So you develop a different set of problems right there. Okay? So for a long and healthy life, managing weight, specifically managing the amount of fat that you carry around, is going to become more and more. I know I'm very elegant when I do this. I am so mobile in my hips. It's unbelievable. I surprise myself. But let's not let that detract from the training that we're trying to do. Managing your weight, and specifically the percentage of fat, the amount of fat that you carry around on a daily basis, is absolutely instrumental and incredibly important for your short-term and long-term health. And there are 5 things that we need to just be mindful of that are going to help us